Hey guys, I get a lot of questions from people that aren't guitar players or that are just learning or just wanting to start to play guitar about inexpensive guitars that are actually good. And as a YouTuber that does guitar videos, I've been sent a lot of those made in China or even in Asia guitars. So I thought I would go through and look at all the Chinese-made guitars I have in the studio. The majority of these guitars have been given to me to do reviews on, and I have done reviews on them, so you can find these guitars on my channel if you search. And I just wanted to kind of give my opinion on Chinese or made in Asia guitars and pros and cons of getting them. These are all branded guitars. These aren't the kind that you go to like AliExpress and buy a guitar that says Gibson on the headstock, but it's a fake made in China. So these are all branded guitars from China and Asia. They're not knockoffs that actually say Fender or Gibson. I've never bought one of those. I've thought about it, but I never have. So these are all companies I've worked with. Some at the beginning of my channel I bought myself, but we're going to go through and I'm going to talk about the different brands and the different guitars I bought and what I think of these. This might be a longer video, just me looking at every guitar I have and showing you guys, but let's go. All right, I thought we'd start in here. This is my main control room. It's where I do a lot of my videos. But this first one we're going to look at is a brand called Harley Benton. A lot of you guys know this brand. And for the most part, these have gotten better over the years. This is a version of a Harley Benton, which is called the Pro Series, and it's kind of a fusion type style guitar. So for playing like rock and blues and country, but basically everything. It has coil split pickups. The thing you're going to find with some of these guitars is that when you get them, the frets might be very, very polished and well done. Sometimes they're not. But if they are and you live in a dry climate, you eventually are going to get fret sprout where you start to feel sharp frets on the end. And I've noticed that more with these Chinese guitars than I have with any Fender or even Epiphone stuff, where the longer they sit in like a warmer place or a place that will dry out the fretboard, you get fret sprout with these kind of made in Chinese guitars. But with like like this Epiphone right here, this is probably made in China. Not as much fret sprout. It pretty much stays pretty well. So Epiphone, another brand. This one has P90s in it, and it's I think it's called the ES339 Pro. I've had that for a while. This is a brand called Firefly. And one of the biggest things I notice about a lot of these companies that make these guitars is that, and maybe a lot of them have changed and it's getting better, but the pickups are very microphonic, so you can hardly play this in a live setting without the pickups squealing. So you either want to change them or make some modifications to the guitar. Other than that, the guitars always play well. For the most part, they stay in tune. But again, like on this guitar, I can kind of feel the frets more than when I first got it. And that's an easy fix. If you know how to fix guitars, you can file the fret ends down and sharpen them and make them nicer. That's what's a nice thing about buying some of these sorry, the light's not very good here, made in China guitars. Now this is a PRS SE, and these are made in Indonesia. And no fret sprout. I've had this guitar for a long time. I've never done anything with it. It came really set up. I think the only thing I did was I replaced the nut on it to a self-lubricating nut. And I put Grover tuners on it. But the pickups themselves and the way it plays and the way it's set up has always been a nice guitar. I did do a video about the neck. For some reason, this neck likes to move in different climates or over time. It's the only guitar I own where I have to adjust the truss rod about every 6 months to fix it, which is kind of upsetting because I think PRS is a good brand. And if this is happening to other PRS models, then yeah. But I think on the PRS SE models, they've done a really good job with the trem. It stays in tune even without a locking nut for the most part. So these are made in Indonesia. Moving into this other room. This is another Harley Benton that I bought when I was first doing the channel. And the frets are still smooth on it. So Harley Benton, I think they do a pretty good job. Pickups sound good. For the most part, I've found that Harley Benton, these Roswell pickups that the Harley Bentons come with are kind of dark. And so you have to make adjustments on the EQ side of things. The tuners are pretty good. And a lot of these, sometimes, even though you're paying a really low price, you're getting a split coil option with the pickups. So you can do single coil type sounds. This guitar was probably only like $150 or $200. I don't remember. It's been a while. But yeah, these are made in Germany. Like I said, I think it's Thoman's kind of their brand that they make. They're made in Indonesia, but let's see. I don't know if it says. I think they're made in Indonesia, but they're made for Thomann in Germany. So they kind of have their spec set up for them. All right. Moving on. This is another Firefly. This is one of my favorite Fireflies I've ever got because on this one, the frets are still just really, I don't know if it's this maple fretboard or whatever, but the frets are really smooth. The semi-hollow telly. And it stays in tune really well. And every time I've recorded with it, it gets a really, really good, it just has a good sound. I should probably take it out and play it more. But because the body is so light, it has a little bit of neck dive, which is really odd for me with the telly. I'm not used to that. All right, moving on over to this one. This is another Harley Benton. When I was first starting the channel, I bought a lot of these Harley Bentons. And this one is kind of amazing to me because it kind of almost came with rolled fretboard edges. And what I mean by rolled is you can see the frets are kind of rounded and it just feels really good. I think it comes with a bone nut, stays in tune. The tone on this, I've actually taken this guitar out and played it live and it did a great job. I think it might come with, let me see. No, it doesn't come with locking tuners, but it comes with Grover tuners, I think. Grover type tuners. And it's just an SG style guitar. Had some neck dive. And I remember I put some weights in the body cavity to help with that. And it seemed to balance it out quite a bit. But again, the pickups are still a little bit dark, but I almost kind of tend to like that sometimes better. If you're just kind of going into a gigging situation, you're not sure what it's going to sound like. It's better to have it kind of a little bit darker than brighter on that end. But again, this is Harley Benton. Just a smooth guitar, plays nice. All right, moving over here. Now this is a guitar by a brand called Fesley, and they've sent me a couple of guitars, actually several guitars, maybe 3 or 4. And I think one of them I gave away, and one I may have not done a review on because it wasn't as great. But this was a great guitar, and what I ended up doing was putting a Vega trim on it, which is a tremolo that lets you basically dive bomb. Your strings basically fall off the neck, and it pretty much for the most part will stay in tune. The tuners on this aren't the best, but I really liked the sound of the pickups from what I remember. It doesn't have a coil split, but this is kind of like a copy of one of those Kramer, like dinky guitars, I think, sort of type guitar. All right, and then let's get into this. This was, I don't even know if they make, I haven't seen these on Amazon anymore, but this was a brand called Starfavor, and I really like what they did. It came horribly set up. In fact, the neck pocket was so bad that I had to take the neck out and readjust the neck pocket. Didn't have to shim it, but I just had to really move it till I got the strings straight. And then I did a big setup on it. It took me a while. And the pickups sound great, except for, again, For some reason, these PAF style humbuckers always just have a squeal to them, man. You just crank them up and you just get a squeal. So you almost always have to replace. If they would fix that one thing with some of these made in Chinese guitars, I think more people would buy them. It's a big thing with these microphonic pickups. I don't want my pickups doing that. If I'm going to play, I mean, if you're a bedroom player, it's probably not going to matter. But when I'm going out and playing live and I'm taking these out, you don't want that. You don't want that squeal. And this is kind of like a fake relic type guitar, not the best realistic relicing job, but it's a kind of a cool looking guitar. All right, so moving on to the next guitar. This is by the same brand, Fesley, of this blue one that we just talked about. And this, you guys, this guitar is one of the best. This is one of the best made in China brand guitars. This Fesley company does a really good job. This is the best one I've ever gotten from them. It does have a little bit of fret sprout on it. I don't remember if it did when I got it. But the pickups do not squeal. They sound pretty decent. You can search up all these guitars on my YouTube channel and see my reviews on them. This one did come with what looked like a cracked headstock. It was shipped in a big box and hardly any padding in it, so it was just bouncing around. I mean, it had a smaller box around it, but it was shipped in a big box. So Fesley made it right, and they sent me another guitar that didn't have that problem. And I ended up giving the one that had this small crack. I don't think it even affected anything. I gave that one to my son. But this kind of looks like one of those ESP type Les Paul style guitars. Fesley likes to put their name in the neck, and just it's kind of a cool looking rock guitar, metal guitar. So moving on, let's go over here. Let's talk about the first. Let's talk about the first This is the first made in Chinese guitar I ever bought, and it's a bolt-on style neck by Monoprice, and I cannot remember what the actual model is, but this was $100. Pickups don't squeal. It sounds like a Les Paul, and in fact, I actually like the tone, and I actually like how it plays. There's no fret sprout. I've had this guitar probably for 7 years or longer. And I bought it because I've just never owned a Les Paul style guitar. And I wanted one that I couldn't afford to really buy, like even an Epiphone at the time. This is actually probably been 15 years since I've bought this, or longer. Maybe not quite. Yeah, maybe 12 years. Yeah, probably 12 years. 12, 13. But again, I've played it recently and it played fine, stayed in tune. The tuners are pretty good on it. But like I said, it has a bolt-on neck instead of like a neck in body or through body or whatever you want to call it. But that's by Monoprice. I don't know if they make that one anymore. Doubt it. They're always changing them up. All right, moving on. This is the Harley Benton. And I can't remember the model number, but it's their Les Paul style, kind of their more high end. At the time it was. I think they've come out with better ones. But it has coil split in it, so you can split the pickup so you get single coil tones. It did have some fret sprout when it came. I remember how bad it was. And so I actually did some work on it, and now it feels really good. Tuners are not the best. Pickups do not squeal. It actually has good pickups, and I think these are the same Roswell type style pickups that Harley Benton has in all their stuff. This is one of the better sounding Les Paul style guitars that I have. Yeah, Harley Benton did a good job on these ones. So I really feel like this is a good made in Indonesia or wherever. Again, these are the ones you can buy out of Thomann from Germany. If you guys are new here or don't know. All right, so this whole bunch of guitars right here. You guys are probably like, Rich, why do you have so many of these made in Chinese, because a lot of them have been given to me, honestly, by companies. I've bought a few. But let's start over here. This is another Firefly guitar that it didn't really stay in tune very well, and I did not love the pickups in it. Even though the video I did on it, the pickups sound great in the video. When I took it to play live, they were so low output that I had a hard time just getting any kind of good gainy tone out of them. It just felt really weak. So I bought this preloaded, like kind of humbuckery, like hot rail style pickguard, put in it. Sounds a lot better now. Did some work on the frets, polished them because they were kind of rough, and set it up really nice. It plays really nice now, and I think it sounds really good. And so some of these guitars I've done some work on. The ones I really like, I've kind of upgraded them and made them into something that I would really probably play out live or record with. This is another Harley Benton. This is like their Strat style guitar. And I feel like this is one of the best, if not one of the best guitars I own in this price range. It's one of the better guitars I own in general. It just sounds really good. I've taken it and played it out live. It feels like a real Strat. It even kind of plays a little bit better than some of my Strats, I feel like. Roswell pickups again. And even though they're dark, I did a video on this recently where when I went back and listened to the video, I was talking about how they didn't sound great and how they were dark. I actually really liked how they sounded on the video, and I kind of had to like backtrack what I said in the video because these pickups sounded really good. It's kind of got like a roasted type. It's called their Vintage Series guitars by Harley Benton. Again, this is Harley Benton. It's a Toman made brand. I think they're made in Indonesia or China. I can't remember. But just a basic Strat. Haven't done anything to this. The frets almost feel like they're rolled. There's no fret sprout. This is just a great guitar, and I think I only paid $130 for it. All right, moving on. I haven't played this one a lot because the bands I play in don't really, this isn't kind of their cup of tea, but this is the like Mustang style or Fender Jazz style guitar from Harley Benton. And a little bit of fret sprout on this one. And I did a video on this one, and I think it sounds great. This just isn't like, I just didn't love this guitar compared to a regular Jazzmaster. The body's a little bit smaller, and it looks a little, I like the color, but I don't love the look of it as much as, and I think they may have come out with a new one recently. So if you want to go check that out. Pickup sounded good, and it plays really well and stays in tune. So that's really the main thing. And they've got bone nuts on most of these, I believe. All right. Here's another guitar by Firefly. I've done a video on this one, of course. So you guys can, like I said, you can go check these out on my channel. This is a Telly style guitar. Humbuckers, has a coil split in it. This was a $160 guitar. And the tremolo works. The tremolo is really nice, works really well. The pickups, I think they're kind of noisy. I don't think they grounded them. There's a problem there. So at one point I thought I need to go in and see what's going on with them. I just haven't done it yet. They're not that noisy until you really start putting a lot of gain on this guitar, and then they get pretty noisy. But these kind of guitars, you kind of get like this cut right here for your hand. You get the belly cut, you get the coil split, and all that stuff for only $160. If you needed to change the pickups or do some modifications to them, you could, and you wouldn't be out too much. Just good guitars. All right, what else we got here? This is actually not, I don't know where the parts were made, but this is a parts caster, so it could have been made here. But I put this together and had it painted by a company, and just I've always wanted kind of a shell pink Telly like this with a Bigsby types thing on it. And this is if you're interested in kind of making guitars, I don't even remember what the company was called. I think it was called fretwire.com. I don't even think they exist anymore. And I had a lot of people saying that they had a lot of problems with that company. And they sent this to me to do a review on it. It took me a while to do it because I wanted to have the body professionally painted before I put it together. But one of my favorite guitars, actually. And I put it together myself, which makes me kind of proud. All right. Well, what else we got here? Okay, I just recently did a review on this one. This is the Donner DST. I should probably turn this way so you guys can see. This is the Donner DST 600 series, and it has Alnico 5 pickups in it. Sounds very stratty. Looks really good, and has a bone nut, I believe. Stays in tune. It's one of the more expensive ones that you can buy from this company called Donner. I've done several reviews on Donner guitars and Donner processors and effects. And overall, these guitars are great value. The pickups sound great usually. It plays great. It sounds like a Strat for, you know, a lot less. But now I think Fender has been putting out some Squier guitars to compete with these that are actually really, really good on Amazon. Some of the new Squiers have a 2-point trem on them and lots of features that you would find on some of these Chinese companies that are they're trying to compete with Fender. So there's that. But that's just a great classic looking Strat style guitar. I really like the sound of that one. It played well. I did get it and there was no sharp frets. And since I've had it for about a month now, the frets have sprouted a little bit. Probably need to get a humidifier up here in the studio. But some guitars are not affected by that at all. All right. You guys are probably tired of all these guitars. Okay, so here's another Harley Benton guitar. This was a guitar that my buddy Mitch, he wanted to see. My buddy Mitch has untold amounts of guitars that are really nice guitars and amps, and you guys have maybe seen some videos I've done with him. But he saw my videos on these Harley Bentons, so he wanted to try one out. So he ended up buying two and bought one for me. This is called the Harley Benton Pro Series, and again, this is kind of their fusion Telly guitar with a trem on it. It's got the two humbuckers with coil split, and kind of like it's kind of shaped back there so your hand can get up nice. It's got the belly cut. I think they're kind of trying to copy like a Sir, like modern Telly type style guitar. And this is one of the better Harley Bentons I own, even though I don't love the Wilkinson trem. It does work okay, but I don't know how often I would use the trem on this guitar, but it's still a great guitar. And I'm almost afraid to take it out because it's black. They get dirty so quick. It's almost like a showpiece. It's like a mirror black. All right, what else haven't I got to you guys? Let's see. I think that's most of them. Oh, nope. Epiphone are made in China. We can't kind of overlook those. I already talked about one. But this is my favorite. This is my favorite Les Paul right here. This is the Les Paul Modern. If you guys are looking for a Les Paul and want to spend a little bit more than some of these, spend a little bit more money and get a little bit better features and stuff and make, you might want to check out the Les Paul Modern or any of these Les Paul, Epiphone Les Paul style guitars. In fact, they're starting to make some that have headstocks that are shaped like a Gibson but say Epiphone on them. But this has coil splits, several of them. There's lots of tonal options on this Les Paul. There's a cut here so you can get higher access to the frets. I believe a bone nut, don't quote me on that. Made in China, handcrafted in China. But yeah, this is probably my favorite Les Paul I own, even though it's, I've never owned a real Gibson, but I played a lot of them, and this one holds its own with Gibsons and even the higher end Epiphones. One last guitar that I didn't really want to talk about because it's funny how these companies are. They want you to do a review on a guitar and then they send you a guitar This guitar was you can actually see just, I don't know if you can see it with my phone, but there's just so many blemishes and things on this. This was a guitar. Here, let's just take it off the... This is a guitar by Glary that they sent, and the truss rod just would not even, like I lowered the saddle or the bridge, fret buzz. I adjusted the truss rod, fret buzz. It frets out up here on the 12th. Just not a great guitar. These all came loose. That's not a big deal. You could just tighten these, but they just continually spin because they're not tightened. All of them were loose. And I just couldn't get this guitar to do anything. It does plug in and make sound, but it just... And Glary wanted me to take down the video. They were upset. But it was just not a good guitar, and the way it was sent to me was horrible. And I said, you guys need to make it right and send a better guitar. And they didn't. So I still posted this video on this guitar by Glary. And I get had a lot of feedback that people have gotten nice Glary guitars. So if you're gonna send a guitar out to a YouTuber that's gonna review it or do a demo on it, make sure you send out one that you know is gonna be good, or at least playable and fixable. One last one. All right, so this last one is an Epiphone. So made in China. But just a great looking and playing semi-hollow. It's an ES335 Epiphone. And probably one of my favorite purchases. This was probably even more of an expensive Epiphone that I've even ever bought, but I really love this guitar. Love the look of it. Love the sound of it. Plays really nice. I had to do no fretwork on it whatsoever, and it came pretty much set up. I may have lowered the bridge a little bit, but that's all I did to it. And that's basically it, you guys. So my thought on these guitars is, here are the main issues, I believe, with these guitars. Squealy pickups, fret sprout on a lot of them. These are all issues that can be fixed. So if you're willing to spend like only $150 and fix these issues, that's not a big deal. But if you're a new player and you don't want to have to deal with any of that, spend a little bit more money and get something that doesn't have those issues. But even guitars at higher price range sometimes will have these issues because of quality control. But in general, I've noticed that it's mostly fret sprout, sharp frets, or kind of scummy, cruddy frets that need to be polished. If you go watch Phil McKnight's channel, he talks about this stuff a lot, of course. And pickups are lacking usually, and sometimes the tuners are lacking. But if you're looking for higher quality at those price points, Harley Benton ones have been the best I've seen so far. Firefly is good, but it's hit or miss on those as well. And I think sometimes on those, they say they come with a bone nut, but I feel like you have to do some nut work on them to get them to the strings to slide better or stay in tune. That's just what I've noticed. But overall, in general, the guitars are getting so good now, you guys, that you can't go wrong if you're willing to make some adjustments on your own if you get them. But squealy pickups, sharp frets, and just kind of some cheaper parts, but well-crafted guitars. So they play well, and they actually can be set up really well. But then you just have to fix these few little things on the guitars. Some of them don't have that. I've had a few come that I'm just like, wow, there's nothing really to do on this at all. And it's just a great guitar. And I maybe talked about some of those. But anyway, guys, let me know what you think in the comments. If you're new here, my name's Rich Bischoff. I am a guitarist, singer-songwriter, play in bands, have a studio where I do production work, all that kind of stuff. Been playing for almost 35, 36 years, something like that. But again, if you're new here, like I said, please like, subscribe, and hit that bell if you want to. And we'll see you at the next one. Adios.